Hey, and welcome to Vegan Steven's Food for All, where I show you the foods I cook in my vegan kitchen, and you should try them too, because it's good for you, your kids, their kids, and the earth. Today I want to show you how I make peanut butter and jelly cookie sandwiches. I've been getting requests for vegan desserts, thus I'm bringing you this episode. This dessert starts with a recipe for peanut butter cookie sandwiches from Lazy Cat Kitchen, then I added a raspberry coulis as a riff on the classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now I don't bake much, so as you'll see this was a bit of a challenge, however they ended up real yummy and I gotta say, they look beautiful. Let's check out our ingredients. This recipe has 3 parts. First we'll make our chocolate cookies, second is the peanut butter filling, and third is our raspberry coulis. For our chocolate cookies we'll need all-purpose flour, unsweetened cocoa powder for chocolate flavor, peanut butter for some body, maple syrup for natural sweetness, cornstarch as a binder, and the only thing I added to Lazy Cat Kitchen's recipe was a pinch of salt. Adding a pinch of salt to baked goods actually enhances their sweetness. Check the video description for a link to the full Lazy Cat Kitchen recipe. Now our ingredients for part 2, the peanut butter filling. Peanut butter, unsurprisingly, maple syrup for sweetness, and perhaps a touch of almond milk to thin out the filling and make it spreadable. And part 3, the raspberry coulis. A coulis is just a fruit puree used as a sauce. First, 2 6-ounce packages of Driscoll's raspberries. This recipe comes straight from the Driscoll's website, Driscoll's, where we make the raspberries and you shove them in your face. Next, granulated sugar, cornstarch to thicken, and I may add a bit of lemon juice to cut through the sweetness of the coulis. Haven't decided yet. Let's get started. Step 1. Making our peanut butter chocolate cookie dough. Here's our ingredients. I'm not going to bore you with a description of each one, we'll cover that as we go. I'm following Lazy Cat Kitchen's recipe exactly here. I'll let you know of any adjustments I make along the way. First go in with half a cup of peanut butter. Then adjust your lighting because you're making the leap from amateur to semi-pro. There we go. Next in with half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Whisk that together using your elite level wrist strength. Now time for our dry ingredients. 1 tablespoon cornstarch, 6 tablespoons unsweetened cocoa powder. This stuff is awesome. We're using unsweetened because the peanut butter and maple syrup already have plenty of sugar. Notice how I'm leveling off each tablespoon as I add it. Always make precise measurements when baking. Add a pinch of salt to enhance the sweetness. The recipe says to add 1 1/3 cups of flour at this point, but I decided to mix all this stuff first. It seemed like incorporating the flour would be a bit tough right now. I then added my flour 1/3 cup at a time, so it was easier to incorporate with the rest of the dough. Here I switched to an old school hand mix to finish up and make a cohesive dough. Your dough will look like wet sand, but should hold together if you squeeze it. Press that into a ball, cover, and place into the fridge for at least 30 minutes. I left mine for an hour. As you'll see later, my dough dried out a bit in the fridge. I think this was because I covered it loosely with a kitchen towel rather than tightly in plastic wrap. I try not to use plastic, so next time I would moisten the kitchen towel slightly and wrap it tightly around the dough. Now part 2, our peanut butter filling. Here we have peanut butter, maple syrup, and almond milk, which we may use to loosen up the filling. Go in with half a cup peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and mix. We're going for something we can spread between 2 cookies. The recipe calls for anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons of almond milk to thin out the mixture. I added about 1 tablespoon to mine. So long as your mixture is spreadable, you're good. We'll set this in the freezer for 45 minutes or so to thicken up prior to assembly. While our dough and filling are firming up, let's prep part 3 of our dish, our raspberry coulis. Here we have granulated sugar, 12 ounces of raspberries, and cornstarch. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing here? Oh! My turbo-powered blender. I love this guy. He's gonna pulverize our raspberry into oblivion. Check out this floss. Sick. First, into the blender with our raspberries. Place the blender receptacle on a lower surface for easy transfer because you're not an idiot. We'll zoom in here for a nice view. And blend until liquefied. Oh, the satisfaction. Here's a close-up shot. I could watch this all day. I'd love to include more multi-angle shots, but I need a second camera for that. Check out my Patreon link in the description and consider supporting me for as little as $1 a month. Next, we'll strain our pureed raspberries through a fine mesh sieve to remove the seeds. Switch to a bigger bowl because you're not an idiot. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. And finished. Look at all those seeds we removed. This will make our Coulis smoother than Matthew McConaughey in a Lincoln commercial.
I've been driving a Lincoln since long before anybody paid me to drive one. I didn't do it to be cool. I didn't do it to make a statement. I just liked it.
Now that's a smooth Coulis. The Driscoll's recipe states to empty the pureed raspberries into a 1-cup measurement. Then add water as necessary to reach 1 cup of liquid. Be right back. There we are. Dump that into a saucepan. Add 1.5 teaspoons cornstarch and a 1/4 cup of sugar. Whisk that together, then simmer for about 2 minutes until thickened. I could have whipped out the camp stove for this, but it wasn't worth the time, so I simmered this on my normal stove. Trust me, it works. Once the sauce has simmered for 2 minutes, set it aside until we're ready to assemble. Fast forward a half hour or so, and here's my refrigerated dough. Hang on a sec, I don't want to mess up my nice wooden cutting board while rolling this out. Per Lazy Cat Kitchen's recipe, split your dough in half, then roll out each half into a 3 to 4 millimeter sheet. I'll first press my dough into a tight nugget, flour my board in the rolling pin, then roll out the dough utilizing any advice I've ever heard from Claire Saffitz. Recall earlier I mentioned that my dough dried out a bit in the fridge. This is the point at which I realized this was an issue because my dough kept splitting as I attempted to roll it out. My solution was to move the dough back into the bowl, add about a tablespoon of water, remix, press firmly together, and try again. Here I'm really compacting this together. Adding some moisture and assertively compacting the dough got it to a point at which I could roll it out. Now I wouldn't consider myself a master baker, but I'll narrate what I'm doing anyways. Roll your dough from center to edge, applying light, even pressure. Rotating the dough a 1/4 of a turn each roll. Keep an eye out for thick spots and roll those out. The edges of your dough are going to split, but that's okay. We plan to cut cookies out of our sheet, so it's only important that the center section is uniform and intact. Work your dough slowly and steadily. Then break out your nerd gear and measure the thickness. We're going for 3 to 4 millimeters. Mine was perfect because I seriously know what I'm doing. Now I didn't have a cookie cutter, so time to improvise. I found a garlic powder container with a lid about the size I wanted, so I washed the lid and tried it out. Hopefully our cookies won't taste garlicky. I'll let you know later. Press that down. Then use your nerd gear to lift out your cookie. Snag a cookie sheet and some parchment paper. And down with the unborn cookie. Listen to your girlfriend.
You should just do a bunch and then take them out.
And cut as many cookies as you can. Place them on your cookie sheet and rework your scraps to cut out more cookies. There we are. One more time. Sweet. I didn't film this, but I grabbed another cookie sheet and repeated with the other half of the dough. Trust me, these go into a 355-degree oven for 12 to 14 minutes, rotating halfway through. And here's my first batch. I baked my second batch, then placed them all on a cooling rack and went out to dinner because I was starving. Hey, it's nighttime. Here's my cooled cookies. Oh no. Get back here. Time to assemble. Here's our setup. Ange kindly volunteered her services as a cookie assembler. We have our cookies and filling, and butter knives and spoons for spreading. Spread your filling on the flat side of one cookie. The recipe calls for about a teaspoon of filling per sandwich, but we ended up adding about 1 tablespoon. Grab another cookie and press the flat side onto the filling. Imagine you're making an Oreo. There we are. Set aside. We worked through a couple and figured out a few tricks to make them look nice. Here's an action shot of the process. Take about a tablespoon of filling and place it in the center of the flat side of a cookie. Spread from the center towards the edges using a quick, repetitive pressing motion to prevent the knife from sticking to the filling. Press your filling all the way to the edge, making the edge slightly thicker than the center. Then press the flat side of another cookie onto the filling. Finally, use your finger or a knife to smooth out the edge and make things look pretty. There we go. We finished up and assembled 11 cookie sandwiches in total. What should we do with this leftover cookie?
Let's light it on fire. Fire. Fire.
Well, that was fun. Next, we grabbed the plate to build a platter, stacked our cookies up all nice, then moved the whole thing to a smaller plate. There we are. Hang on, gotta go grab the raspberry coulis from the fridge. I did end up adding the juice of about half a lemon into this. The acidity of the lemon really worked well against the sweetness of the cookies. And squeezed some coulis over top some of the cookies, and it looked like a murder scene, but hey, it's Halloween time, so it fits with the season. If we were to change one thing about this dessert, we would make a jam instead of a coulis and spread it inside the cookie sandwich rather than over top. Either way, they were real tasty. I hope you'll try these at home. Although a bit tricky to prepare, they were fun to assemble and made a tasty sweet treat. Total cost for these 11 cookie sandwiches was $13.73. That's $1.25 per sandwich. Check the description of this video for an itemized cost breakdown. Support me by subscribing to this channel, telling a friend about it, sharing on the social medias, and consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 per month. Thanks!
PB&J dessert. Hello? Good.